Alright, so this is my newest custom LEGO Star Wars ship. And this one's actually interesting because it is essentially just an upgraded version of this ship. And as you can see, this one is a lot bigger. Anyway, let's just get into it. So as you can probably see, the ship has this nice black and orange color scheme, which I think looks pretty cool. The wings use a lot of those larger angled plates, which give the wings a pretty nice shape. There's even an orange one right there. On the wings, there's also an orange stripe right there, and two of those rail type pieces. At the back of the ship, there are two smaller engines and one larger one in the middle. And the smaller engines are actually just wheel pieces with a nice trans neon orange cone for thrust. And in the middle of the larger engine, there's a nice orange flame. And I wish I could make it neon orange just like those cones. And I have a trans neon orange flame, I just couldn't find it anywhere. Something pretty annoying about the wings is that they are actually slightly angled downwards. As you can see, they kind of just flop down. And that's because of the way this center area is designed. The wings have this whole feature, which causes this whole area to slope down a little bit. And I will touch on that feature later. Now onto the main cockpit area. For the windshield, I just used that windscreen piece, which is commonly used on a lot of cars, but there's a nice print on it. The top is somewhat rounded off, however, it kind of just ends right there, so I wish I could have made it so kind of flow a little bit better. And on the side of the ship, there is a nice orange stripe right there. This front area looks decent, I think. And to access the interior, it's pretty simple. You just take out the top. Inside, there are two seats. There's a nice control panel right there, and another control panel in the back with a little mug, which you can obviously put characters in, and put on the top. And I feel like the main pilot actually doesn't look half bad. If you're curious, this is the bottom of the ship. There's really not too much going on. I probably should have added some orange stripes on the bottom. Anyway, onto the main feature. So, with the landing gear removed, you just grab the back engine, just like this, and you can spin the wings around the cockpit. Just like that. Which is what caused the wings to slope down. I don't know, I think that's kind of cool. And one thing that sucks is that you have to hold it from the back engine, but as you can see, it kind of goes down a little bit. So, yeah. The way the feature actually works is pretty simple. So, the cockpit and the back engine are just attached to each other with a little Technic beam right there, and then they go through that technical, which allows the whole thing to spin around. And yeah, I guess it works. However, it is definitely not the best way to make this whole thing spin around. But I'm not nearly smart enough to figure out how all those gears and stuff works for how LEGO actually does features like this. At the back of the engine, right there, there's that little disc piece. And the reason why it's there is because without it, when the wings spin around the cockpit, the back area rubs up against this too much, which causes the wings to spin slower. And something pretty cool with this whole thing is that if I ever wanted to, I could always replace one of those technicals with that piece. So I could have the wings stationary, which also causes the wings to lean less. However, they still lean a little bit. Anyway, what do you think of this ship? I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. I do like the whole feature of the wings being able to spin around the cockpit. However, the wings also being slanted isn't exactly the best. Anyway, that is essentially it, so see ya.